Hi, thank you for joining us for the touchscreen shootout. Ben, Dave and I are at Elementary Technology in Leeds. Elementary is an independent provider of touchscreen panels, as well as being an ANME sponsor on the portal. They've been extremely supportive in a variety of ways since they came on board, and we're looking forward to working with them more in the future. At the end of the event, we're going to be asking you for feedback on all aspects of the shootout, technical and content, in order to improve things for future events. Without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Ed Fairfield from Elementary, who's going to introduce more about what we're going to cover today. Over to you, Ed.
Hello everybody, thank you very much for signing on today. Elementary Technology, we've been actually really excited to host this today. It's a hybrid event. It's helping us navigate the Wild West. There are going to be a few cowboy puns today, I think, shootout puns. Navigate the Wild West of trying to get your head around education technology. So we're really grateful that some people have asked upfront questions on the ANME portal. Of course, dialogue needs to continue, so we're live on social media. For those who have Twitter accounts, if you could use the hashtag ANME shootout. If you tag in the ANME, or Elementary AV, that's Elementary Technology. We'll try and keep the conversation live. We've got a few people live online replying as well. It's a good opportunity to carry on dialogue. So for those of you who don't fully understand and haven't heard of Elementary Technology, we're a leading supplier of touchscreens into education. We take people through what we call an EdTech roadmap, to use a little bit of jargon here. So we talk about planning, choosing, buying and using. So what many suppliers do and what many schools tend to do, they dive straight into the buying. But as network managers know more than most, it's about the ICT strategy and the digital strategy. So we help you very much from the beginning. We've got our classroom health check service as part of that. Today is all about choosing. Because we're an independent supplier, we make absolutely sure we do everything you can to make sure you make informed choices before you go ahead and sign on the dotted line with the buying. So we're going to give you independent facts, figures, functions, information, demos about everything that you need to know today to help you make the right choices. Even if you get planning, choosing and buying correct, you also need to have a plan in place for the using, and that applies to teachers using it on site in the classroom, and it also applies to network managers understanding how to manage it and how to facilitate it and how to make sure how to empower the teachers to use it to its full effect. So that's Elementary Technology, planning, choosing, buying, using, and that applies to touchscreens, visualizers, school halls, you name it, we can help you with it. So over to Dave Leonard to continue the show.
Thanks, Ed. As you said, this screen isn't big enough for the both of us, so we're going to just hand over just like that. You'll notice one or two Wild West puns. I'm just surprised that I got one in before Ed. So today we are really pleased to be here at the Elementary Technology offices. We are fortunate enough to be able to see this live on site. For those of you joining via the webcam, it's really an impressive place to come to and gives us a great picture. And what we're going to try and do today is give you a flavour of what they've got here. But we're going to focus in 4 real areas today. We're going to start off in a moment looking at smarts, which are one of the biggest players, if you like, in the market in the UK. Then we're going to move over to look at Promethean. And then after that, we're going to look at other brands, and we're going to go into a little bit more depth in terms of how they can function with the other software as well. And then finally, at the end, we're going to have a Q&A. So we'd really encourage you guys to put any questions that you have into the chat. We've got our beautiful assistant down here, Ben, who's going to be beavering away, collating those questions, and then we're going to fling them at the experts at the end of this show. So, without further ado, we will get ready to go over to Paul, who's in our smart depot, which is approximately 4 meters that way. So, over to you, Paul, to talk to us all about smart.
Brilliant. Excellent, thank you very much, and good morning, everybody. Nice to be with you all today. So I'm going to give you a quick update on the Smart solution. As Dave says, we're independent experts in this field, so we're agnostic and just we really want to get underneath all the technology so we can help our customers and you as members of the ANME get an understanding of what's out there with an unbiased and honest appraisal of things. So Smart, all of us, I guess, know this. My personal background, my first job was doing the London Challenge many years ago, running smart boards and projectors out across the south of England and then across the whole of the country. So it's a brand I've known for a long time, and again, a well-established brand, particularly from an education standpoint. So what I thought to do today as part of the touchscreen shootout is just kind of give everybody an update on where Smart is now. So Smart do have a vision, and they have lots of development and manufacturing qualities within their organisation to help end users, teachers and the techies be able to use their equipment to improve educational outcomes ultimately. So sometimes seems a bit grandiose, but that is genuinely their aim to do this. So their solution of products and their system effectively, and there is an ecosystem, so that's a jargon warning for today. Teachers can create content at home, send directly to the hardware. All students can connect through any web-enabled device to use their software. And what we're going to look at is their current hardware range and also update everybody on the software. I think often there's a bit of misinformation around Smart and its software. Actually, there's some new updates which are just happening right now in April, which I'll fill you in on. So again, their hardware range now, so Smart has 3 particular ranges. So they have a good, better, best to cover all eventualities within the educational, from early years all the way up to higher education, and to fit any budget point. And also, they do loads of amazing software, but if you don't need it all, you can scale it down and get the benefits of on-road hardware. So at the entry level is a product called GX, which is a great system. Has a bit less of an onboard walk-up and use experience through the Android PC, which they call IQ higher up. So I'll explain about that. The MX series, which is the middle, which is a great product all round. Again, slightly more expensive than the GX, which will compete with any entry-level solution. The MX is an excellent choice, very mid-range, but very feature-rich. And then the 6000 series, which is the model I'm using here, which is now their flagship model. So on the hardware, there's just fairly simple 3 different good, better, best options, which again we can show you more in depth if you ever wanted to in the future via online demos, etc. The one thing I always think about Smart is it's the solution that's easier. So we're talking hardware, just using the product is very intuitive. So it's very truly walk up and use, and that's 25-30 years of development. If you're a teacher particularly, it's not going into different menus, writing, rubbing out. It's very intuitive and just easy to walk up and use. My lovely colleague Daniel is joining me now to show. But people talk about multi-use, how many points of touch. I don't know how many. It's irrelevant if it's got 60 points of touch. What I want to know is, can I work with my colleagues and students, together? And there's an example. So thank you, the lovely Dan McGee, for a certain vintage. Also, for your teaching staff, sometimes when you're upgrading the hardware, if you use the software they know and love, we can sometimes think from a techie point of view, they can learn something new. Why do they have to stick to this? With something like Smart, because it's got years and years of developed good quality tools, which again, some manufacturers make hardware. I would say Smart are an education company that make hardware and software working together to improve teaching and learning. So, there is a benefit to it, and the simple things sometimes are the things for the teaching staff that stick. So always one thing that I just make, try and make everyone aware when we're evaluating things, different solutions against each other. So as I said, I just mentioned the lineup, a good, better, best, GX MX 6000 series. What Smart have done, and I hear all us network people cry out in joy, is software is now free with their solution. So moving in April, and this is a movable feast, and we always keep updating you guys about this, is Smart hardware will come free. The Smart IQ, which I'll show you in a second, is their onboard functionality without plugging a laptop in, smart notebook, so smart notebook basics, which is the newer updated version 11 is free with the hardware, and also smart ink, which is built into the hardware for the MX and the 6000 series, means teachers that use other applications, PowerPoint and things, it has a unique system. You can see here my little toolbox. This toolbox is available over any application, which again is unique and not often understood. I did have a customer who they used PowerPoint and they didn't realise that this was built into the hardware rather than the software. They bought different panels and the teachers didn't have access to that, so it was a bit of a uncomfortable conversation to have with the teacher and learning team. And then what Smart have done now is they've taken away their online presence. So they've moved their online software, which is called Lumio, which historically was called Smart Learning Suite Online. So again, I'll give you a quick update on that. So just to give a quick overview, so those three elements we talked about as far as the software point of view goes. The IQ experience is their walk up and use functionality without plugging in a laptop. So if I just go to my inputs here, so this is the home screen, and I can open a whiteboard. So again, without connecting a device, I've got different different papers. I can just walk up and quickly write the date. Again, the same ease of use and sort of tactile, ergonomic, and simple to use functionality interfaces there. You've got loads of different, I can search the web, but the great thing from an education point of view is this is all, you're not going to get any adverts, any inappropriate content, anything like that. So you can simply search. So I can search for, again, a hot topic for our friends in the Ukraine. So quickly you can search out, I can look for videos, I can look for images related to that topic, and then just put them into my quick lesson there. These lessons can be shared with drives, all that sort of stuff. And again, there's loads of quality smart maze timers, all this stuff that the staff use. Again, it's a really quality system, and it gets added to all the time. If I go back to the home screen, you can also, through the included updating software, update apps to the unit itself and remotely manage the unit itself. So just a good, you also can web browse, share from devices to the screen. So again, a powerful walk-up and use functionality, and this is an area where Smart more and more are investing their large development muscle into having this available. So I'm just going to go back to the input and back to my presentation, which I'm running through the free notebook software that comes with the hardware. So moving on quickly, just to Smart Ink, which I said earlier on, is just a palette of tools that you can use. You can use it on all sorts of products, like the PowerPoint, save the inking. Again, just a quality tool that teachers love to use. And again, notebook is included free with the hardware for the lifetime of the product. Uniquely for us is if you've got old versions, version 11.4 is common. That software was invented and installed before the iPad was invented. So there's potential security risks. Why are we using it? There is a version we can get, and again, if you speak to a specialist like ourselves, if you've got other hardware you want to talk about licensing, we can be a conduit with you with Smart directly to get you what you need, at a reasonable cost if it's spread across the site and there's a mixture of hardware involved across an estate. But again, this comes free for the lifetime of the product when you purchase their hardware, and the two things are designed to work together. So I would say worth a demo or a shootout look, in the future to compare against other brands you may be looking at, because you can get that functionality and that software for the price of lower, of kind of entry level brands. If you just take a quick look at the update. And again, here's just a quick update. So across their model, I said there's three models in the range. So the 6000X, which is the top level, and MX, which is the good all rounder. You get everything that you get. The IQ, which is a walk and use, the Smart Ink, which is inking over the sort of PowerPoint and things like that. Notebook for the lifetime of the product. Access to hundreds of thousands of resources, and 5 years remote management of the solution itself, so you can manage them. You can set rules, you can turn them on and off, you can have a look at if an input is inserted, etc. So again, that all comes with it free. So where they're free, they're separate software is. So their separate software now is a product called Lumio, which just means you can. I'll go to my Lumio account to show you. So you can upload into the cloud loads of different. It doesn't have to be a smart-based resource. So it can be PDFs, PowerPoints, etc. You can set different folders in, and then I can set this for work in the cloud to different groups, in a hybrid setting for homework, but just a really powerful solution that many people don't know. And this actually also inserts straight into Teams and Google as well. So you can use this as your teaching and learning platform within those wider platforms. So again, something we'd recommend having a demo of, because it's got real cross key stage functionality and opportunities there. So just again, a good product, and then that opens up things like, depending key stages, there's loads of different lesson activity builders, really powerful, including assessments, so saves your teachers on marking, all that sort of stuff. I did a bit of showing my age capabilities, but I just to show you one of the categories was a categorization via a pirate shootout game. Again, you can see here I can connect mobile devices to this so the students could do it remotely. But again, here we go. I'm gonna sink the ship. Things that students of all ages actually like, and it's a good thing to do at the end. So just an example there. Again, the exchange for your staff, you can download loads of resources, or these staff can download them free, save some time building lessons. That's been around for 30 years now, 25, 30 years. And again, where we support you as a company with any of these choices we're talking about, if it was smart, we've created a Get Set with Smart page for for you to access your, if you need help with accessing your, how to get your licenses, how to, anyway, my link's not working on the time. So this is a link where it shows you how to get all your licenses, how to get to the administration portal and how to deal with them. It also gives quick questions for your users to stop them raising tickets about things like, how do I turn it up, how do I do this, how do I do that, and how do I sign on from a teaching perspective. So you can put that on your intranet, there's videos in there, and then we have a full training program for the staff on how to use all the functionality. So hopefully that was my timings. I don't know how I do it from the timings, but yeah, so hopefully that's given you an overview. Again, we always recommend having a look at this stuff. We're here to help either online, in person here at the Experience Centre, or we can also bring equipment to you for you to get your hands on at school. So hopefully that gave you a good update, and I'll pass it back over to Dave.
Brilliant, thanks, Sheriff. Of course, any of the links that weren't working, we'll try and make sure they're included in the information pack that goes out at the end of this session. Now, Smart, fantastic. We've got some really interesting questions about licensing, which we'll talk about a little bit later on, if that's okay, Bob. Yeah. For now, though, we've done Smart. We started off with Paul, the Sheriff. We're going to hand over now to the other side of the saloon to our Deputy Daniel on the other side, who's going to talk about Prometheus.
Hi. So as Paul started off by saying, I think historically schools have had a choice to make when it comes upgrading to their touchscreens. You've either got to buy from a hardware manufacturer, which will offer you a really great price, but generally say to you, just carry on using the software that you're using. Or you can work with one of the two main players in the education market over the last 30 years in the UK education sector, which was Smart and Promethean. So you probably had old interactive whiteboards and projectors for many years. And so the other side of the coin from Smart is Promethean. Now, in my experience, Promethean users really love their Active Inspire software and are keen to continue using it. So what we're going to look at today is the 3 or 4 different elements that come with Promethean solutions now. So you've got the software element, the resources, and the hardware itself, which we'll be covering. So just starting off with with the software, to be fair. Effectively, there are three elements for you. You've got Active Inspire, which, as I say, staff that have been using it for the last 5, 10, 15 years really love, okay? So just some quick things with Active Inspire that I think a lot of teachers really like. I've got a floating toolbar that I can bring wherever I want to go, whether I'm left or right-handed. If I'm more comfortable using Microsoft-based products, I can actually dock that to the top to make this look and feel much more like a Microsoft product, or I can have it docked to the bottom if I'm using it in a lower key stage area, making it accessible for the pupils to access at a height that suits them. I think some of the other things that you really love about Promethean and the Active Inspire software is I've got profiles on my toolbar. So if I'm going to do some maths, I can just select a maths profile, and you'll see that my toolbar's changed and has now given me tools such as protractors, calculators, rulers. Alternatively, if I'm doing some literacy work, I can come into languages, and again my toolbar changes to be specifically set up with tools for them to use. Another thing I think a lot of staff really like but don't know about in a great deal is some of the actions available in the browser here. So if you can't see it, if you go to View and Browsers, it will open up. Alternatively, it floats at the side and pops out when you need it. I really like the drag and drop function, because what I can do as a teacher is I can preset some tools for me to use when I come to that page. So when I'm teaching, I don't have to hunt around for the tool. I've now got some of the tools I might use on the page. So if I want to use my tool, I can just simply press the icon and I've got the ability to then use it. When I'm finished, I just drag it into the bin, okay? So Active Inspire has been around for a long time. It now integrates with ClassFlow, which I'll come on to, which is Promethean's version of the so I'm on the front page, which is Promethean's version of Smart Lumio that Paul was talking about. So a lot of schools, particularly because of the move to Chromebooks in the USA, a lot of manufacturers are having to give an option for a cloud-based piece of software. Now, one of the benefits of cloud-based over a locally hosted piece of software like Active Inspire or Smart Notebook is you don't have to keep it up to date. That's automatically done for you. So you don't have to go around machine to machine installing and updating software. So if I come back into ClassFlow, ClassFlow, very much like Lumio, is the ability to create activities online, any device, anytime, any place, and to push those out to devices for you. It doesn't quite have the same level of integration into Teams and Google as Smart's offering does. And you'll see here that you've got lots of information on YouTube where you can go and find out how to use it. Alternatively, we do offer Get Set Go training for Promethean in-house, where we can work and tailor a training program with your school and the software that you're wanting to use with it. So if I just minimize again. Now, from an IT network manager's point of view, the third spoke to the Promethean software wheel is panel management. So Promethean offered 2 levels of panel management for you. You've actually got the Promethean panel management software that comes with the screen, and it's completely free for the lifetime of the warranty, which allows you to do some basic cloud-based management of the screens in terms of turning them on and off, setting up some profiles, and being able to manage those from your desk without having to go down to the classroom each time. Now, just like Smart and pretty much all of the other manufacturers in the space, they've all teamed up with Radix to offer a more comprehensive mobile device management suite where you can set profiles, install apps, take control, and do some remote diagnostics with it. Promethean offer it free of charge for 12 months, and after that it's then a payable subscription. Smart, in comparison, offer it for 5 years, and so do most of the other manufacturers. But the interesting thing is all of the manufacturers seem to have come round to the idea that the Radix mobile device management solution is the one that they would recommend for use with their screens. Okay, and the brilliant thing about having the Radix via Smart, Promethean, or any of the manufacturers is is it's not just mobile device management for your touchscreen estate. You can actually add your mobile devices, your Windows devices and your Apple devices to mobile device management as well for them. So from there, looking at the software, again, one of the reasons why a lot of staff and schools really like both Promethean and Smart's offering is you've got 30 years plus of experience use within the education sector in the UK. So what you'll see, just like Smart have Smart Exchange, Promethean have got their My Promethean resource library, where there's currently 40,000 plus resources made for teachers by teachers. So the idea is if you're a teacher and you've got to create a fractions flip chart, there's another 10,000 teachers up and down the country that are having to do the same. So why create 10,000 versions of the same thing when you can upload it to an online community like Promethean Resource Library or Smart Exchange and actually save a huge amount of time and energy by sharing resources amongst teachers up and down the country. Again, this is completely free and has been around for several years for Promethean users to be able to download content and use. So the final thing we're really going to look at is the hardware element. Okay, so Promethean have got sorry, to here. What's that? A load of hyperlinks up. So from Promethean's point of view, it's about some key elements like ease of use for staff when they're using new technology. So just scrolling through their website, again, information on the website will be in the information pack afterwards, but Promethean really build it down into a few easy access areas. So their first thing is they want all of their tools to be easy to access for the staff. So what you'll see on the screen here, I can either bring up a suite of tools from the bottom, from the right, and from the left, depending if I'm left or right-handed, where I can access all of my content. And I've also got it all replicated on this easy-to-use front panel here. So what I can then do from here is jump into the Android onboard walk up and use computer that comes with it. So I can go into a locker of apps that are easy for me to access and download. So in this case, I've got a spinner for selecting pupils to come up and do some work. I've got some timers that I can use. It's also got screen sharing built very similar to the Smart, where I can cast from a Google device, an iOS device or a Windows device directly to the screen. Again, both Smart and Promethean will allow you to share up to 4 different devices on the screen at the same time so that I can keep an eye on and track on what pupils are doing on their mobile devices and share that content back to the other pupils themselves. And I can also download apps. So what you'll see here, we've pre-installed Google Earth. We've also got access to Excel and PowerPoint. Now, one of the things Promethean will also allow you to do is to connect your cloud drives to OneDrive and also Google Drive so you can access your flip charts and your resources on the screens themselves. Promethean have also put a huge amount of time and effort into what they call a natural writing feel. Sometimes when you're using some of the cheaper screens on the market, there can be a little bit of lag between when you're writing on the screen. But Promethean, similar to Smart again, have got in-glass technology. And what that basically means is you have a really smooth natural writing experience, which I'll show you in just a second. And finally, one of the big things Promethean have done is to introduce an infinite canvas. So one of the things that Promethean have listened to feedback on is that staff these days don't necessarily just want to use Active Inspire or Smart Notebook. They want to be able to pull content from apps on the inbuilt Android, from a visualizer or from a mobile device on a pupil that's using in the class. And that's what their infinite canvas will allow you to do. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to bring up my easy access toolbar. I'm going to hit capture. Now at this point I can either capture the whole screen or alternatively I can easily just capture the content I want, which could be from my Windows device like I'm doing here. And when I hit done, it then asks me what I want to do with it. So I'm going to open it in Whiteboard. And immediately what it does is it jumps me to Promethean's infinite canvas. So what I've got here is I've got some imagery that I've captured from my Windows device. Via the source selector, I was able to go to my visualizer and capture some work from a visualizer. And before we started in Blue Peter fashion, we were able to share from an iPhone or an Apple device where I've been able to capture from that. And the brilliant thing about their infinite canvas is I am able to bring everything from my learning journey into a single space. And from here, the usual sorts of tools where I can pick up a pen, I can highlight. But if I pinch and zoom within my picture, what you'll notice is if I'm highlighting something here, when I minimize it, my annotations stick within the picture itself. So when I move around, I've got the ability to then, write on the board, point to information, which I've pulled from a mobile device from a pupil, from my Windows device, and also directly from my visualizer. And you've got a whole suite of tools, but they've deliberately designed this to be a lot simpler to use than Active Inspire and Smart Notebook, because a lot of feedback from staff is they just want to do the basics on it. So you'll see here I've got the ability to pull some paper styles up, some different colours, the ability to write in different colours, and I've also got access to rulers and protractors directly inside the infinite canvas. So, I think the key takeaways from this is, with the Promethean system, they tend to give you a bit of more freedom to be able to download and install APK files such as Google Earth, Blocky, so I can bring content from, the hundreds of thousands of free really professional apps that I can use. Once upon a time, I'd have had to have created everything in Active Inspire, which takes a lot of time for the teachers and it takes a lot of effort. But these days, I can now just bring activities and contents in from numerous apps, on top of the ability to capture from any source that's plugged into it. And if I really want to, I've also got the ability to annotate over the top of any other source as well with this toolbar here. So as a quick recap, with Promethean, Active Inspire for the staff, or ClassFlow if you are wanting to use a mobile device package online with it. Just going to switch the source, sorry. And I'll come back in. It's via, I'm on my toolbar here, get rid of that. And then you've also got the Android with Walkup to use and the infinite canvas that will allow me to pull that content from any source that's plugged into it very quickly and easily.
Fantastic. That was very well timed and very well delivered. So thanks very much for that, Daniel. It was really interesting to see that kind of interaction with the different sources and the hard buttons and the soft buttons and how they work well together. So we've covered off Smart, we've covered off Promethean, but of course those aren't the only two manufacturers in the marketplace. There are lots more, but we're going to go over now back to Paul for him to go into some details on some other manufacturers and some of the key ones that are being supplied and sold by Elementary. And he will give us a bit of an overview over the next few minutes about what we can expect to see from those key third-party, non-Smart, non-Promethean vendors. So, Paul, over to you.
Brilliant. Thanks again, Deputy Dave. So we're back looking at the brands. As I say, the great thing for us is we care about these solutions, and we're not in one camp or the other. We want to understand it fully to pass our knowledge on to our users. From the network management fraternity all the way through to the teachers and ultimately the pupils. So just covering a few. Clever Touch is a great solution. We worked with for many years. They're really powerful. They have a really good store you can access apps to, which are getting curated so they're the right size. They've spent lots of time and effort and money creating a good suite of software. So again, another really good solution provided to education. So one that we'd always say is always worth considering, and schools can't go wrong really when working with Clever Touch. New Line is often known a lot. We work a lot with New Line as a company. New Line are a big manufacturer and actually manufacture screens for a lot of other brands. So what's classed as an OEM manufacturer, but New Line is their own their own range, which again, what they've done is look at price point. So if you look along here, the RS Plus is an entry-level product, but it's a well-priced product, it's reliable, and often for larger rollouts, we've done a lot of high school work with New Line on this product because it's at a price point that is better than an ultra-short throw projector or even an old projector. So again, one that's worth demoing. Again, at these things, I would always have a look. You know, again, we're here to help you. I often say you wouldn't go buy a car without test driving it, or you wouldn't buy it because, you know, one of your friends has got exactly the same car. So people like us are here to help you actually evaluate this stuff and come and get your hands onto it. Again, with great people like the ANME, you know, people who care and are in the trenches can you know, help direct the real technical implications of what we're doing. As going back to Ed's planning, choosing, buying, using strategy. So they've got a really nice range, entry level, well priced. Atlas, really good quality product, and then they have some real good products if you don't want Android within it or actually going up to capacitive touch and things. Again, what Newline do is hardware. They do have some broadcasting and cast facilities and some good control, but they don't bundle it necessarily with education software. So again, that's something to be considered. But a great partner of ours, and we're proud to have a partnership with. ViewSonic is again within the realm of education companies. What ViewSonic have been clever with is, for example, this is their latest screen. So some of the manufacturers, the latest ViewSonic range is bundled with a Harman Kardon sound bar built in, so you save some money from your audio to maybe invest in a visualizer or a camera for conferencing or something. But again, they've got a large development team and deep pockets to develop an ecosystem for you to use. And what I'll quickly do is a new thing that we particularly like from their solution is the ability to bring in all the other manufacturers. So if you do have a mix of teachers, or you're looking to solve a hardware position while giving your teachers a safety net of their own Promethean resources or smart resources, is they can actually just bring those straight in. So I'm just going to show you an example. I'm going to browse in my documents. So I'm just going to look for a smart presentation. So what's really nice about this, these are a load of smart presentations I've got. It gives me a preview. It's, you know, a really good tool, so it processes it really quickly. Again, we've been crying out, this is in proprietary format. I've got a choice of what I want to import. So I'll import my title, I'll import that, I'll import that. Obviously you can do the whole thing, but it's really nice, it gives you the choice. And now if I import, so you see how quick that is. So now I've got my smart resource and they all actually work straight away. So again, that's a very unique thing that not a lot of people know about. We know from ViewSonic that actually this software is licensed free. So again, their unique offering is you can have a site license for this across your school, your Mac, whatever it is, free of charge, and they'll actually have a team of professionals like you who can help deploy that across your network. So again, as things move on, it's worth maybe giving us a shout and having a demo of this. If you're thinking, I'm looking at hardware, I know I need some teaching and learning software with a safety net of other previous resources, ViewSonic could be a very good option for you. So a very quick jump onto there. So yes, that's, you know, there's loads of other good manufacturers that we work with. BenQ, you know, there's loads of other people out there. C-Touch. So we're expert and have them all. Obviously, you can't see the whole resource centre in here, our customer experience centre, but we have it here. You're welcome to see it online, come and see it in person, or we'll bring it to you to help you make these choices. But I think we're going to go back to Dave to just have a catch up on some of your questions.
Yeah, so don't run away, Paul, because this is it. This is where we've had some really good information from the guys at Elementary already, but this is where we really test them. So we've had questions that have been submitted by ourselves, from the ANME, and from the people who've been watching as we go along. Ben is going to do his weather go bit in a moment, where he comes in at the end of the broadcast and looks pretty and does that external section. But we've also categorised some of the main questions that we had beforehand. So I'm going to fire those at you and see what my shooting's like, and we'll see what your how good you are at dodging the question or answering them. So lots of our members have asked about cross compatibility, and you talked about it a little bit there with the ViewSonic. And they're interested in which other boards we can use Smart and Promethean software and files on.
Yeah.
So we can do it on the ViewSonic. What about the others that you talked about?
Yeah, I think the answer is, with anything, we all know that a screen is just if plugged into a laptop or a PC, a device is just using whatever software is running on that device at the screen itself. So subject to having a license, you can use, whatever software you like. Now that's a bit of a grey area that we all know from the network management fraternity can be a bit of a, where are we? Do we want to open up a can of worms? I think the industry is getting to a point where this is kind of evening itself out. So there are some things like ViewSonic particularly, we just showed you can do that with other resources, but a lot of the other manufacturers can do that as well, or you can save as IWB files or different file forms to transfer. Some may not be as slick as the one we just saw, equal content will be there. But yeah, as long as you have a license for it, any software will work. Some things won't be slick. So for example, if Smart develop hardware and software together, that it always works better together, it's a nicer experience. However, it will still, do most of what you want it to do, again, subject to having the correct licenses.
Which brings us on nicely to the next question, really. So can you talk about software licensing for the various manufacturers and the different options available to schools and colleges?
Yeah, okay. And again, this is, as it stands now, we're often a victim as much as you guys, is we're constantly trying to find out what's right, get the right information and pass that on truthfully to our partners and customers. In the realms of, again, most will have proprietary software that comes with the hardware that you purchase. For example, Promethean will sell you Active Inspire separately as a license at a cost. Again, if you've got good partners, they can go to the manufacturer and put a case forward. But clearly, if you're wanting to use the manufacturer's software and buy other hardware, there may not be an incentive for them to give you a great price on that software. So it's always worth considering that as part of your purchasing as far as the hardware goes. Again, as we just said, Smart have just changed their model to all free with their hardware.
Okay.
But you will be able to purchase licenses retrospectively for other hardware and things on a case-by-case basis, which again, we can help curate and discuss with you. I think it's about honesty. What do you want to do? What are the use cases? What hardware are you buying? The manufacturers, again, clearly aren't going to give us software free if we're buying someone else's product, So it's slightly different for each one, but again, let's have a chat. But in the main, they'll provide software with their hardware, and you may be able to buy licenses for other things on a case-by-case and on a manufacturer-by-manufacturer basis.
Okay, so it's not quite as complex as Microsoft licensing. I think, isn't it? And I think that's one of the reasons to find a partner who you can trust, whether that's elementary or, dare I say it, whilst in their office, your other trusted suppliers.
Yeah.
But I think from speaking to the guys here, and I was just speaking to Daniel because we had a question that came in on the chat about Smart licensing, and you guys are able to answer them really quickly, whereas for us who are working.
That's my
Sorry,
that's our internal phone system. That's good.
That's an option on ViewSonic, I can see. But what about Smart and Promethean? Does it bring up those as well?
Yeah, I'm quite sorry, based on internal phone system.
Excellent. But yeah, I think working with a trusted partner is really important, just in the same way as we would always look to speak to a specialist in terms of Microsoft licensing. I think we're getting to that stage now, aren't we, with some of the others?
Yeah, I think for us as a supplier, we need you guys, the fraternity out there, people at the rock face. It's about a two-way, honest conversation. Say, what do you need? What's realistic? But have a conversation taking into account the financials and the commercials for manufacturers. We have to be. Microsoft don't give us anything free, like you just said. Yeah. So it's just because something was free once 20 years ago. Let's just understand what we need, what our users need, and we can always find a solution. But we've kind of got to sort of get up to where we are with the times now, rather than what's it's difficult if it's on your images or you don't necessarily want to start causing yourself problems with software. That's the.
We don't, but at the same time, if we're going to be investing in new hardware, we want to be able to take advantage of the new features. So it's always worth looking at. And that takes us nicely into one of the other questions really that we've got, which was from what we're getting from our members is that in a lot of their schools, these are just glorified mice, or they're just used for advancing presentations.
Yeah.
And you said then about having an honest conversation about what it is that we need as schools. Sometimes We as techies don't necessarily know that.
No.
But what can we do you think, to either as techies or as suppliers like yourselves, to encourage teaching colleagues to use some of the advanced features on the boards that yourself and Daniel have shown us this morning?
Well, what I'll do is, again, apologies because this is even in the best laid plans, my link in my presentation wasn't working earlier on. But I'm just going to quickly jump onto our website, and again, uniquely we, as I said, it's not grandiose, it's what we do actually want. We do want our users to be able to use the software. So we've created at the start of the pandemic an online resource for teaching and staff. So Fraser is our training manager, he's an ex-teacher who creates and curates content for use on the solutions that we provide. So I'm just logging as if I was a teacher, but across various different manufacturers. So, for example, we've looked at Smart, we've looked at Promethean, use of visualizers in the classrooms, setting up and using, ViewSonic we did, but even things along the lines of how do your users use Google and Microsoft, which are solutions we don't sell. So, we're looking at real teaching and learning improvement using the hardware, not just I work for Joe Blogg's manufacturer, I've got 5 HDMIs and my software writes nicer than anybody else's. We all know that's irrelevant to the users. So if we take a look at, for example, into the Smart area, teachers have so we would curate an online or in-person meeting with the staff to say, right, here's, each one, you've got your basics. So Fraser will provide a video to the, also I've got a certificate for that. I'm very good. I got a certificate. I'll go back into So Fraser curates these, which are constantly updated as well, and this is provided to the end users for our packages, with the hardware. So we want them to use it, and so again here I'll just, there's a video just to give you an idea. Everyone knows what a video is, but it gives the users a guide through that particular module of that particular element of using the hardware and the software solution you've gone with. And then the teachers have a question and answer section. So Fraser's here, gives them his guidance on what to do. And then, it gives them a prompt if it's not correct. Or look, there it is in this case, where is it? They finish that and they print up a certificate. The good thing is as well, in the back end of this solution, we can actually show the SMT of the school, well, who's done what modules, who hasn't. So again, from a techie point of view, it's not our responsibility to train them. It's you've got something you can apply the pedagogy to, the curriculum to, without it all being about, oh, I don't understand, it's too techie for me sort of thing. So that's a really powerful thing. And again, for you, this is get, set, go training for the end users. For you guys in the network team, we've got a get set, which is, as I say, how do you get hold of your licenses? What do you do about distributing it? Things about getting this, the new solution onto your system. So that's part of what we offer to get everybody going.
And I think that's really, really useful. And the fact that Fraser is an ex-teacher is fantastic, because we're the best will in the world. Some of our teaching colleagues don't always value some of their technical staff's experience. And quite rightly, we're not at the coalface as often as they are delivering in front of a class of 30. So I think it's really great that you've got that option, and that's something that's available to all the staff in any school that partners with you.
Again, just to cover there, this is manufacturer specific, but one thing again that we're very proud of is we do so here, as I say, we've realised for areas, a lot of schools have had money to implement stuff for the DFE, if it's be it Teams, Office 365 or Google, and also getting more devices. But so schools have got, particularly teachers again, have got access to using stuff that's within Microphone. Do they know how to use Sway? Do they know how to use Teams effectively? So you've done the hard work of getting them a working system. Now let's get them helping using the infrastructure that you've skillfully put in for them.
Okay. And you mentioned briefly, it takes me on to the last of my sort of deeper questions, really. You mentioned about the Get Set Go and also the Get Set platform. So one of the questions that's come in is how are the various screens managed and updated, and what can you guys at Elementary do to support technical school staff in schools?
There is within, for example, if I go back to, so each manufacturer, although as Daniel mentioned, actually a lot of them are based on the same platform, which is Radix, which is an industry standard for device management. But again, what we've done is within the get set areas, there are also in the get set area, as part of that setup for the network team, we've done a how do you get onto, so set yourself up for the device management, how does it work, what do you need to do? Which again, we'll put that link into the pack that goes out, so you can have a look for yourself. But and again, this is something we've curated. The manufacturers don't actually bother to do this, so we just know from being on site with our colleagues like you, saying, right, we've got it. How do we get it implemented? We'll get it on the wall, but obviously that's only part of it. We've then got to work with you about getting it on the network, making sure it's all sorted and it's it's allocated to the users correctly. So and you can manage it, so we will help with that process all the way along. It's fairly common for all of them because often they've just reskinned the original thing, which is product.
Okay, brilliant. So just as we throw over to Ben for the questions that I've not covered, just wanted to say the pack that we've referred to on a number of occasions now, it's not just your usual oomph that you get as part of a flyer with one of these events. There's some real hard work gone into this. It's about, I think last time I looked, it was about 50 pages of information. So there's some great info in there. So please do have a look at what's going on in the information pack, because there's some questions that you probably have in your mind about that you're wanting to ask that myself and Ben won't cover. So if there is anything, then please do check the information pack and then check onto the ANME portal after that and ask questions of ourselves. Elementary are one of our sponsors, so they will jump onto the portal and answer questions that they can do as well. So thanks very much for that. I'm now going to send probably you and Dan over to the willing hands of Ben, who's our live roving reporter, fresh from the streets of Kiev. He's now in the equally down and dirty streets of Leeds Bradford. So Ben, over to you, mate.
Thanks very much, Dave, for that. Thanks very much for that, Dave. Thank you for all your questions. So we've had a number of questions, and I think as you've just heard from Dave, some of them we've tried to answer, but there's been some specific questions. So we asked you when you signed up if you'd fill in some of your issues and things you'd wanted more information on. Like I said, we've got Paul and Daniel. So the first question was, what is your biggest area of uncertainty regarding touchscreen TVs? And there was a really good one here, was the size and clarity of a distance compared with larger projected screens. So again, I'll throw that out to the elementary.
Yeah, I would say we would always, particularly if you're talking about halls, I guess. I mean, the halls, we would always purport to still looking at large projection, which we do a lot of. We also implement video walls and things to a larger area. I think it depends on room size. There are ranges of sizes really now, and because the brightness and clarity is higher, I think sometimes the screens, there can be a kind of viewing angle issue versus the older projectors potentially, but in most classroom size of standard education, there will be a size that will fit. Again, that can be simple as bringing bringing ones of size to your location, or you giving some measurements and things and we can look at it. But I think a screen in most educational environments these days, particularly classrooms, there is a size that will suffice. And it's maybe just seeing how it works in the the fabric of that particular room.
I think like you said as well, you get the brightness and you get the better quality. Obviously, with a bulb, the dates, as soon as you put that bulb in, it's lamp.
Yeah, there's no shadowing. Yeah. There's all sorts of things there's a lot of benefits to this again versus to be robust and longer lifespan. There's a lot of benefits to it, but if you're concerned, I would definitely say give us a shot. We'd happily get based on your room a relevant solution over to test. That's coming in now.
Just on that question again, it is going to be much clearer, much brighter because it's a HDMI image in most cases. But more importantly, I've also got the ability to pinch and zoom. So from a size point of view, if you have got pupils at the back of the room, on your projector you couldn't do anything with it, whereas with this, I can just make it bigger by pinching and zooming just like I was on a tablet.
Yeah, that's brilliant, thank you. The next question was, do you feel you fully understand how your teachers use technology for teaching? Again, quite a number of good queries were raised, but the one I picked out was, without being a teacher and knowing the curriculum they teach, you can only pretend to understand how they can do and use technology. And I'm going to pick on Dave for this one, because Dave's a good one. Dave, I know has done talks on sort of how we can, teachers and techies can work together.
Yeah, and I think I was quite passionate about this one when you mentioned that this question had come in, and I think it's all well and good to say, it's all well and good to say that we don't understand what our teachers need, but that's about communication, isn't it? And I've always been a massive fan of getting technical staff into the classrooms. So we can call on the fantastically skilled people at elementary to deliver the training for teachers. And I'd want to be in there as a techie. I'd want to be in on that training. So I knew what was possible, because with the best will in the world, our teaching colleagues have got 1,000,001 things going on through their head. So the more we can get into the classroom and we can see what's going on. If I've been in that training and somebody's struggling to use a Promethean board, I might be able to tell you do realise that there's a hard button for that at the bottom, and a little tip at the right time can save so much headache for a teacher and can make the lesson run that much smoother. So to get into the classroom, see what your teachers are going through. You're there to support teaching and learning, so understand what's happening as part of that teaching and learning. Is what I would say that.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, that's a good answer. Thank you.
Just in answer to that as well, we as a company realised that a lot of the time when we were coming in and doing training for staff, we know the equipment from a demo point of view and from a specification point of view, but we don't know the ins and outs of using it on a day-to-day basis to hit curriculum objectives. So that's one of the reasons why we listened to our customer base and we hired Fraser, who is a former teacher. He used to be Promethean's lead trainer. He's Google accredited, he's Microsoft accredited, he's Smart accredited. And I think one of the big things we've seen since we brought Fraser on board and we started to do the Get Set Go training, you can actually pay for Fraser to come into the school and do face-to-face work in person with your staff, or alternatively do remote sessions. But the key thing with that is Fraser will spend time speaking to your teaching and learning leads to identify what are the key areas of development. And he won't just talk about the screen you bought. You can say, well, we've got visualizers, we've got mobile devices, we use Teams or Google. And Fraser will then tailor a training program specifically how you can use all of those different elements to best achieve the outcomes that the school are wanting to improve on. And I think from a techie point of view, that takes a lot of weight off your shoulders, because as you were saying, you're not teachers, we're not teachers. So what we did is we hired a teacher who's a great trainer to come and work specifically on those outcomes with you.
Yeah, just one final point there, Daniel, as well, is I would say that the success of any project isn't just about what it costs you to put the board on the wall. I've always gone by that stat of 40% of any project should be looking at training. So by getting that training in, you're going to get far more out of that investment and stop these boards being just a tool to advance slides, which is what I talked about earlier.
Yeah. I think that also very nice. I think we've sort of wrapped that up in the other question, which was, do you feel there is enough support available for IT and teaching staff to be fully trained? I think you answered that quite well, and I know you've got a platform at elementary as well that can help support CPD, which I think Paul was showing earlier. So yeah, another really good question, which is what we're all facing, is what is your biggest EdTech challenge at the moment? Cybersecurity, obviously with events, worldwide events, it's more prevalent than ever. Budget, again, budgets are being squeezed more and more. Obviously costs are rising, so usually I think staffing, estates or site, and then I think it's IT costs are some of your biggest costs in school. So when they're looking obviously to sort of balance the budget, usually IT is one of the first casualties. But a really good question that came through was balancing good quality classroom technology with environmental and financial sustainability. So I guess that could be a good question.
Yeah, I'm going to step
for
out
you guys, especially probably on the environmental bit as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think again, if you're on the environmental bit first, is lots of the manufacturers, going smart, do have a policy of knowing where their minerals and where their the big manufacturers know this. Again, that's part of the reason why working with a known brand and maybe paying a little bit more is the certainty of has it adhered to some of those things.
Yeah.
I know, for example, C-Touch is a good manufacturer that we have a relationship with, who are doing a special packaging. They reuse their packaging. The packaging that your screens can actually go back to them and are used 5 times. So we're constantly working with schools on that. I think financing is an interesting one. We're seeing leasing often was a dirty word, and it's however you splice it. There's some sort of feed back to the 80s and Xerox machines or something, you know, but actually an operating lease, which is how the DfE would recommend you use something that depreciates, is a good way to get the, you know, the equipment you need for the price you can afford, and to also do things in large rollouts, you know, doing things in phases. Because historically we did it, I mentioned earlier on, going back to the whiteboard, you know, the London Challenge, which is how I started in this industry 20 years ago, that, you know, they got some, L School's got money to do a third, they match fund it the next year for a third, and then the third year after said, we like this, we'll finish the school. And then we've gone in a bit of a round robin often for that. Or as the network teams know, you haven't got any money, mate, do amend, you haven't got any money, mate, do amend. But, you know, it's not sustainable either. There's hidden costs that often the users don't see, or, you know, the bosses don't see. So if we can get to a cost of technology even per classroom, or, you know, that to me would make more sense. You know, the world's moving that way. How much have I got as an operational cost? I have what I need in this room, and that can I match what I need to that price? And there are ways to do that. Again, we'd encourage people to have a chat. Have a chat with us, and our health check service can help work this out. But, you know, from the equipment we look at with peripherals, this isn't including your devices, you know, you're talking about £700 a room on average. So, you know, if you can get that into your budgets or start working now, we can help you get those budgets into the budget discussions. Then it might free your money up for all the other things you've got to worry about.
Which actually is that kind of leads on to another nice sort of another question that was asked was will hardware costs fall in the future, particularly presumably on volume of on if you're ordering in volume and things like that?
Yeah, I think hardware we have seen. Well, weirdly, hardware did go down, but then it's gone back up again. Prices can go up as well as down because of the, you know, because of the global crisis in, you know, that we saw in manufacturing, pandemic, all that sort of stuff. So actually, good quality items. It's really interesting. Actually, screens, for example, there are no HDMI outs on most of the newly ordered screens, just because there's not enough to spare a HDMI out that nobody ever uses.
Right.
You know, so we've seen things, you know, manufacturers are cutting back, but if you want quality internal parts from these manufacturers, then you are going to have to pay for that. And sometimes it is the old, to my old dad to say, buy cheap, buy twice, or, you know, buy in haste, repent at leisure sort of thing. It's don't jump into the buying just based on budget. That's part of it, but there may be solutions around it to get what you actually want. If you just maybe address it a bit differently, I guess, it would be my view.
Another question, and then I think this is the last question, then we'll look at wrapping up. An honest vendor's comparison of their software versus smart software. I'm not sure if that's something you guys can help with.
Yeah, totally. Again, we've got no foot in any camp. Again, we would say as well, as someone who generally we are honest about this, and we do want to compare in the buying of hardware. Most manufacturers have a bid system, which means whoever shouts first can often get the best price. For someone like us, because we have a purchasing power to start off at a better point, if we're cut out early on, it means actually you're shooting yourself in the foot and getting a worse price anyway.
Right.
So I would always don't jump into buying, asking for pricing. You know, is the person you're dealing with a specialist in that area? You know, you wouldn't come to us and buy your cloud services, your devices, because we don't sell that stuff. But it's like, you know, we're still mechanics in the same rough industry. It's like being a car mechanic and a bike mechanic, I guess. But sometimes customers steam in to prices in comparison, when you're better off deciding what you want and need and what your budget is at the beginning, and then going out to the various manufacturers that can do that for you.
Can I just add?
Yeah.
So I think in relation to your budget side of things as well as answering an honest comparison in terms of the software versus different areas, what you've got is we offer a service to all of our customers, which is called our Classroom Health Check, where we can actually come into the school and assess where you are now. We go around each of the classrooms with a dedicated app, making a note of age, brightness of projectors, are they still under warranty, day-to-day issues. And as part of the Classroom Health Check service, we then feed back to you and your senior leadership to give you a independent view of where you are now. And I think what that really allows you to do is to assess how many of the staff are still using the Promethean software or the smart notebook software. And Paul was talking about some of those hidden costs because, for example, a projector-based solution uses approximately £125 a year more electricity. So one of the real benefits of the classroom health check and the feedback we give you is it gives you that broad picture of how many projectors are dull and need replacing, how many calibration issues are you still having with your smart boards that are now 13 years old. And more importantly, we can also give you examples of some of those hidden costs, like the amount you're spending on lamps and energy. So when you are planning a new rollout and new spend, not all of that money needs to come as new money. A lot of that money is come from saving your time having to run around changing lamps and continuously fixing things, as well as saving money on energy. And more importantly, it's about improving outcomes. So it's being able to show you how this can help you improve your outcomes as a school.
Yeah. One final question, and then we'll wrap up. Thank you very much for the question on the meeting chat. The C-Touch comes with a 7-year warranty. Do any of the other manufacturers compare to this?
Okay, so yes, Smart offer a 7-year warranty. It comes as standard with a 5-year warranty, and you can pay an upgrade fee to upgrade that to 7. It's normally around about 10% of the purchase price of the screen, which for the extra 2 years peace of mind, we feel is really good value. The C-Touch 7-year warranty is actually a little bit of a bone of contention, and we had C-Touch in a few weeks ago giving us an update on their product, and what it turns out is the final 2 years is a return to base warranty that only covers the parts. So, for example, you've got a 75-inch screen on the wall. You're told it's a 7-year warranty. With Smart, if you do go with the 7-year upgrade, it's a full 7-year on-site warranty where they will come in, take it down, repair or replace for you on site. All of the other manufacturers offer a 5-year warranty as standard across the UK, whereas the C-Touch warranty, as I said, if it's in year 6 or year 7, unfortunately, Mr. Customer, you've got to uninstall it, you've got to package it, you've got to send it off, you've got nothing in your classroom while it's being repaired. They then send it back to you. So, strictly speaking, would you consider that a 7-year warranty?
No, and that's a really good question and a really good answer, which is yeah.
And I think as well, one thing we can help with, someone mentioned earlier on about volume and things, is we do have options for manufacturers and at trust level to get them. So, for example, we're working with one of our trust partners who are upgrading a couple of 100 rooms after health checking their whole estate, and they're going to put a 7-year warranty on site included in with that rollout. So we can go and negotiate that on your behalf. And again, we would do that as a thank you with you consider working with us on projects of this size, because we do value it extremely well. So whatever we can do to make it better for you, we'll attempt that. So yeah.
Right. Thank you very much.
No worries.
Well, thank you. So if we haven't asked any of your questions in the Q&A, there were quite a number. An info pack will be going out following this meeting, which will hopefully answer any questions you have. And we're now over to Ed.
Thank you very much, Ben. Thank you very much for this really good information. I'll tell you what, from a personal point of view, I've actually been really excited to run this event. I work closely with Rick and the ANME. I know on social media as well, I've got interactions with various people. I'd love to do more of this kind of thing. I think I've got a big passion for sharing experience, sharing information, sharing expertise. I think the more sharing of this kind of thing we do, the better for everybody. It makes all our lives easier. It means we're more effective at our job. We've actually got a new platform being launched shortly called EdTech TV, and that's all focused on sharing and listening and learning from each other. So I'll keep you posted on that, and we'll keep in touch. So info pack coming up. Keep in touch. Anything we can do for you, we can provide more detailed demonstrations, quotations, classroom health check, anything you like really. You can contact us on our website, you can send us a tweet, and I think there's an ongoing opportunity for discussion on the ANME forum. So it's been a really big pleasure. Really grateful for you jumping online to join us today. Unfortunately, as you're not here, you can't have fish and chips. which we'll be enjoying fish chips and mushy peas shortly. Watch out for some photography of all that on social media. I'll pass you back to Rick for a final wrap up. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. And thanks to everyone that's been involved on the day and behind the scenes. We're looking forward to receiving your feedback and improving things for future events. Elementary have kindly donated 4 £25 Amazon vouchers to do a prize draw for everyone that completes the feedback form on the portal. So please do provide as much information as you can. It really will help develop these events and do more for you and all the members in the future. Thanks again for attending. I hope you've enjoyed it and got something out of it. The recording will be live on YouTube soon. Thank you. Goodbye.